Hello, I'm Karen, and today I'll share with you how my disease complicated my life and got me in trouble. But before I move on, like the video and hit the subscribe button with the notification bell on it. Rumor has it that if you do so, you'll get taller by 5 inches tomorrow. Sierra and I have been best friends since kindergarten. We used to do everything together, and by everything, I literally mean everything. She was also the only one who knew about my cold allergy. At the age of 5, I was diagnosed with a rare disease called cold urticaria, which means that I get a severe skin rash whenever I get exposed to cold. That meant I had to stay warm all the time. I couldn't enjoy eating ice cream or drinking ice smoothies, so my body temperature wouldn't go down. And in winter, I had to wear multiple layers. I always looked like a giant bear with my super huge raincoats. I also couldn't enjoy playing in the snow, and Sierra would always come to my house and spend time with me inside. She was the best. However, that all changed when we got to high school. Sierra came from a rich family. Her dad owns a chain of fast food restaurants across the country. My parents, on the other hand, were both teachers. They barely made it from month to month. When students knew that she was rich, they all wanted to become friends with her. Guys wanted to invite her to their activities, and boys wanted to date her, but they always invited her alone. No one wanted me to join. One time, Alice, one of the most popular girls, approached us while we were having lunch and invited Sierra to her birthday party. And then she added, "The invitation is for you only. It's an exclusive party, you know." I knew that she wanted to get under my skin with that comment, but I couldn't care less. I told Sierra to go. I didn't like Alice anyway. After that, Sierra started getting tons of invitations, and we stopped seeing each other as much. Then something unexpected happened during chemistry class. The teacher assigned all the students to work in pairs. I had to work with Hudson, the hottest boy at school. He was the captain of the football team. Hudson and I started working on the project together, but soon enough, he confessed his feelings for me, and we started dating. Hudson was the cutest. He cared for me so much that he came to drive me to school every day. For the first time in my life, I felt like a princess. But somehow, Sierra didn't like that. When she saw me walking hand in hand with Hudson, she was surprised. She came rushing and asked, "Are you two a couple?" I answered happily, "Yes, I haven't had the chance to tell you because you seem always busy lately. How about we all go for dinner together?" Sierra added with a strange look, "Sure, I'd love to get to know my best friend's BF." I smiled, and we agreed to meet at this fast food restaurant. But the moment we walked in, Sierra had a disgusted look on her face and said, "I can't eat here. Let's go to another restaurant. I'll pay." I didn't like it, but I said nothing because Hudson didn't seem to mind. But things like this kept happening. Whenever the three of us were hanging out, Sierra would pick the most expensive place of all and pay for us all. Hudson liked it, but I was embarrassed and hurt by her way of showing off her money. So I stopped inviting her to hang out with us. But then her birthday came, and she wanted to do something extravagant. She booked an exclusive ski trip, hotel, and plane tickets, and invited her closest friends, including Hudson and I, for free. When Sierra handed me the invitation, she said, "Oh, Karen, sorry if you can't make it." I had a feeling that she did that on purpose, so I responded, "Oh, don't worry, I'm coming." My parents freaked out when they heard I was going on the trip. Being in cold weather would definitely increase my rash, and all my body would be swollen, but I didn't care. I didn't want to leave Hudson and Sierra alone for 4 days. So I packed up my things and went. And I wish I didn't. I spent all my time in the hotel. I couldn't go outside. Hudson asked me multiple times, "Come with us, I'll teach you how to ski." But I had to lie and say, "I don't like skiing, I prefer reading. Go have fun, and I'll wait for you here." Hudson and Sierra stayed together all the time. I saw their stories on Instagram and Snapchat, and I felt my blood boil. On the last day of the trip, however, while I was having coffee in the hotel's lobby, I saw Sierra and Hudson kiss outside in the snow. I couldn't believe my eyes. But I wasn't imagining things. They were really kissing. I couldn't contain myself. I just gave up, ignoring all the alarms going through my head. I screamed at them, "What the hell is this?" Hudson was startled, but Sierra had a twisted smile on her face, and she said, "You don't deserve him. You can't even join his activity. You're also a freak." She grabbed some snow with her hands and she threw it on my face. I was shocked to hear Sierra say such awful things. It took seconds for the rash to pop and then cover all over my body. I was swollen, and then I passed out. I woke up in the hospital feeling dizzy. I saw my parents sitting beside my bed. They looked worried. They told me that my body went into shock. It needed 3 days to recover. I went back to school hoping that Sierra would apologize to me, but instead, I found that she spread rumors about me saying that I was a gold digger and I was her best friend because she used to give me expensive gifts. I don't know what she told Hudson, but he too believed the lies she told. He only sent a message saying, "We are no longer together." I was enraged. I needed to take revenge. I knew that Sierra took pride in her long blonde hair. She took really good care of it. So while she was in sports class, I replaced her shampoo with a similar bottle that had hair removal cream. When she took a shower later and got out, she was half bald. I heard her loud scream coming from the girls' bathroom. She was hysterical and came straight to me and threatened me. "You'll pay for this!" I was so happy seeing her go ballistic. All the other students just laughed at her crazy. But unfortunately, I couldn't stay and enjoy that view. The principal called me to his office and I was expelled. But I couldn't care less. I told my parents that I didn't want to live there anymore, and we decided to move to Florida because it was warm all year round. I moved to a new school and I kept a low radar. I didn't make any real friends and I kept the secret to myself. But Sierra's rumor stuck with me. I wasn't a gold digger. And to prove her wrong, I focused on my studies and graduated. And then I studied finance and business administration in college. I was working extremely hard, and I started my own company at 23 years old. It was not long until I became one of the youngest successful women in the country. But I always had to be careful. I managed my work from home because I hated air conditioners. My employees always wanted to have a meeting with me, but I couldn't. Most of the time I had online business meetings, and if I had to go, I would wear clothes that looked ridiculous in summer, and even in the winter. I became rich, and I was able to help my parents quit their jobs and retire. But I was lonely. I didn't have the courage to date other men because of what happened with Hudson. But then I met Zane. We met at a business conference for young entrepreneurs. The conference was in Hawaii, which was perfect for me. I went to the beach every afternoon and sunbathed without getting into the water. So one afternoon, Zane approached me and asked, "Are you afraid of the water?" I looked at him suspiciously and asked with a cautious tone, "What do you mean?" But he simply said, "I've been watching you for a couple of days and you never seem to go in. The water is lovely, you know." I immediately took a deep breath. His comment was innocent, and for the first time in my life, I felt like sharing. So I said, "I can't. If I go in there, I might die." Zane was shocked and interested in hearing the whole story. So I told him. He was so compassionate towards me. We ended up talking all afternoon and then spending all of our time together. We started dating for a while and then we got married. I was so happy with the way things turned out. I thought I finally had my happy ending. I was rich, I had everything I needed, and I had a loving husband who really cared for me. But then I woke up one night to drink some water, and I noticed that Zane wasn't next to me. And before I got to the kitchen, I heard his voice coming from his office. "It's not the right time yet. She's totally in love with me, but I need more time until she trusts me with her money." I felt like an elephant sat on my chest. Was Zane planning something behind my back? I heard his footsteps, so I rushed back to my bed and pretended to be asleep. But my heart was pounding. The next day, I acted like everything was okay. We had breakfast like usual, and I even kissed him goodbye. But as soon as he left the house, I called a private detective and asked him to investigate Zane. And what I found was shocking. Zane was Sierra's personal assistant. She was in the conference in Hawaii and saw me there. And when she knew that I became richer than her, she teamed up with Zane so they could rob me, or at least get half of my fortune when we got a divorce. I couldn't believe that Sierra still held a grudge after all these years. I also felt sick to my stomach. The only man that I invited to my life wanted to hurt me. I was so in love with him that for a second I thought that I could convince him to forget about Sierra and to stay with me. But I was smarter than that. So I took all the evidence that the detective collected and I hired a lawyer. I had to divorce him. Zane was shocked when he saw the divorce papers. He couldn't get a penny from me because I threatened him that if he asked for money, I would send all the evidence to the police and he would be in jail. As for Sierra, I threatened her with the same thing. I told her that if she ever tried to mess with me again, I would ruin her life. Sierra was terrified by the idea of jail, and she paid me $2 million to keep my mouth shut. I sold the house Zane and I used to live in, and I went to live with my parents so I could raise my child in peace. Yes, I found out after the divorce that I was pregnant with a baby girl. I called her Amy. I was thrilled when I had her. Amy was so beautiful. She had Zane's eyes and chin, but unfortunately, she had my disease. We found that out when she turned 7 years old. I cried my eyes out that day. She was playing with her friends outside. One of them opened the plastic water pipe and aimed it at her. The water was cold, and she soon developed a rash. Her friends started screaming when they saw her. I rushed outside and I held her in my arms and took her to the hospital. A nice doctor treated her. I explained to him her condition and he calmed me down. He told me to get out of the room so he could treat her. Luckily, 2 hours later, the doctor got out and assured me that Amy had made it. She needed to stay a few more days in the hospital. I let out a sigh of relief and I thanked the doctor who couldn't take his eyes off me. The following days, he came by every day to say hi and check up on us. And on our last day in the hospital, he came over to me and said, "I kind of need to see Amy more. Can I visit her? Or would you prefer telling me more about her over a date?" I felt butterflies in my stomach. It had been 7 years since I went out with any man, so I said yes. 2 days later, I took Amy and went to meet the doctor in the park. We decided that it would be more fun if the first date was a fun one. Amy also needed to breathe fresh air. But while we were playing with her on the sand, I noticed that someone was watching me from afar. I looked closely, and it was Zane. He was looking back and forth between Amy and me. I knew that he figured out that Amy was his. You see, I never told him that I was pregnant. I grabbed Amy's hands abruptly and apologized to the doctor, who looked confused with my strange behavior. I went home and I immediately booked 2 flight tickets to California. I will never let him take my child. Never.